Imagine a lake that mummifies animals, a river that boils like a cauldron, or a landscape so toxic it could kill you in minutes. Although it sounds like science fiction, they all exist. From the red waters of the Rio Tinto in Spain, to the lakes that exhale deadly gases in Africa, the planet hides beautiful, yet lethal corners. Today, we'll journey through the 15 most dangerous lakes and rivers in the world, where nature makes it clear who's in charge, and where a simple dip could be your last. 1. Lake Natron, Tanzania. Hidden in the scorching heart of northern Tanzania is a body of water as beautiful as it is deadly. Lake Natron, with its haunting red color and ghostly sheen, looks like a jewel fallen from the African sky. However, a chemical hell lurks beneath its calm surface. Its secret lies in its composition. It's a hyperalkaline lake with pH levels so high, between 9 and 10.5, they could be compared to ammonia. It's not a place to cool off, but a natural laboratory where only the most extreme organisms manage to survive. In fact, the water temperature can reach 60 degrees Celsius, 140 degrees Fahrenheit, and the mixture of sodium carbonate and bicarbonate acts as a death trap. Every living creature that falls in, bird, fish, or even a small mammal, ends up mummified by the saline water, transformed into a stone figure. This is why Natron has earned a reputation for calcifying its victims, as if the lake wished to preserve them for eternity. Despite its hostility, life finds a way. Thousands of lesser flamingos nest on its shores, taking advantage of the fact that their predators dare not cross these lethal waters. It's a fascinating paradox. The place where almost nothing can live becomes a sanctuary for one of the planet's most delicate birds. But Natron isn't just an extreme natural phenomenon. It's also a reminder of the limits of adaptation. On its shores, the sun's reflections dye the air in orange and pink tones, while the silence of the desert blends with the murmur of the corrosive water. Thus, what appears to be an otherworldly landscape is, in reality, a mirror of primitive Earth. A place where life and death mingle in a near-perfect chemical balance. Now, if this lake is already unsettling, the next bodies of water we explore take the danger even further. 2. Lake Nyos, Cameroon. Thousands of kilometers from Lake Natron, in the mountains of northwestern Cameroon, rests an apparently tranquil lake surrounded by green hills and low clouds. It's called Lake Nyos, and beneath its serene surface hides one of nature's most terrifying secrets. Because this lake doesn't just contain water, it holds deadly gas. At its bottom, over 200 meters deep, enormous amounts of carbon dioxide, CO2, accumulate, originating from the subterranean magma. For years, this gas was trapped by the water pressure. However, on the night of August 21st, 1986, something changed. A limnic eruption, a sudden explosion of dissolved gases, released an invisible, dense cloud of carbon dioxide in seconds. The gas descended through the valleys, displacing the oxygen in the air and silently asphyxiating every living thing in its path. When the sun rose, the horror was indescribable. More than 1,700 people and some 3,500 head of cattle lay lifeless, with no signs of struggle or injury. Death had arrived without sound, without fire, without warning. It was a disaster so strange that scientists took months to understand what had happened. Since then, Nyos has become a unique case study on the hidden power of geology. Today, the lake is being degassed using pipes that slowly release the accumulated CO2, but it remains monitored like a natural bomb that must not awaken again. The most disturbing thing is that other similar lakes exist in the region, loaded with the same lethal gas, perhaps awaiting their turn. Thus, Lake Nyos reminds us that even in the quietest places, the Earth holds forces capable of erasing entire villages in a single exhale. And if this disaster arose from the bottom of a lake, imagine what the next aquatic corner of our planet might hide. 3. Lake Kivu, Rwanda/DRC. Stretching across the border between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo is a lake of majestic beauty, surrounded by hills, fishing villages, and deceptive calm. It is Lake Kivu, a blue giant that harbors a history of unstable equilibrium. At first glance, its waters seem harmless, but beneath that surface sleeps an explosive combination: methane and carbon dioxide trapped in its depths. Kivu is a stratified lake, meaning its layers do not mix. At the bottom, pressure keeps large volumes of volcanic gas dissolved, slowly accumulating for centuries. If that natural barrier were to break, due to an earthquake, an eruption, or a landslide, a limnic eruption would occur, like the one at Lake Nyos, but on a much larger scale. Scientists estimate that such an event could release trillions of liters of gas and endanger more than 2 million people living on its shores. Paradoxically, this threat has also become a source of hope. Engineers and energy companies have been working for years to extract the methane from the depths and transform it into electricity. Each bubble released in a controlled manner slightly reduces the risk, while simultaneously converting the lake into a source of clean energy for Rwanda. It's a delicate dance between human need and nature's unpredictable power. Therefore, Lake Kivu embodies a fascinating duality. It can be both a natural balm and a promise of the future. The face of the living earth is reflected in its waters, where the fire of the subsoil and human fragility coexist in a silent balance. And while its surface shines under the African sun, no one can forget that a danger as invisible as it is monumental pulses at its bottom. 4. Kawah Ijen, Indonesia. High on the island of Java, amidst clouds of steam and the smell of sulfur, lies a place that seems straight out of another planet. Kawah Ijen, a volcanic crater that hosts one of the world's most dangerous, and at the same time, most mesmerizing lakes. Its surface, a near supernatural turquoise blue, is only a brilliant mask that conceals liquid poison. The Kawah Ijen Lake is ultra-acidic, with a pH close to 0.3, comparable to battery acid. It's composed of a mixture of sulfuric acid and other dissolved minerals, a product of the volcanic gases that emerge from the Earth's depths. This acid is so powerful that it can corrode metal or burn skin with just a few drops. Yet the landscape is so hypnotic that it's hard to believe something so beautiful can be so destructive. Around the crater, sulfur miners work amidst toxic fumes that dye the air intense yellow. The most astonishing event occurs at night, when the volcano breathes and releases blue flames. Ignited sulfur gases that burn upon contact with oxygen, creating an unreal spectacle, like liquid fire dancing over the rocks. It's a unique phenomenon on the planet, and also a reminder that beauty and danger often share a stage. Despite the risk, Kawah Ijen continues to attract adventurers and scientists seeking to understand how life can persist in such extreme conditions. The air there is heavy, the ground vibrates, and every breath carries the metallic taste of sulfur. Everything in this place seems to warn that the Earth is still alive, roaring softly beneath our feet. And so, having left this blue hell behind, we head toward another corner of the planet, where water, once again, defies the laws of survival. 5. Boiling Lake, Dominica. In the jungle heart of the island of Dominica, where the earth steams and the air seems to boil, lies a lake whose name is its warning: the Boiling Lake. There's no possible deception. What looks like a calm, greyish pond is, in reality, a natural cauldron that boils at temperatures close to 95 degrees Celsius, 203 degrees Fahrenheit. Its surface bubbles, swirls, and breathes as if alive, fueled by the heat emanating directly from the magma hidden beneath the crust. This lake is a window into the geothermal hell that pulses beneath the Caribbean. Its waters are kept in constant ebullition thanks to a mixture of volcanic gases, steam, and subterranean cracks that connect it to magma chambers. In fact, it's not unusual for its level to change drastically from one day to the next. Sometimes the lake disappears almost entirely, leaving only a smoking pit. Other times, it fills to overflowing. It's an unpredictable organism, governed by the planet's pressure. Scientists consider it one of the few lakes of its kind in the world, and one of the most dangerous to visit. Even from a distance, the steam is so dense that it can cause dizziness or mild asphyxiation due to its content of volcanic gases. Nevertheless, The people of Dominica regard it with a mix of respect and pride. The boiling lake is an emblem of the island's natural force, a reminder of its volcanic origin. Those who manage to reach it describe an almost mystical experience. The roar of the steam, the smell of sulfur, the ground trembling beneath their feet. It's like observing the very pulse of the earth in real time. And as we move away from this steaming lake, we understand that at times, water is not a symbol of calm, but of the fiercest power dwelling in the planet's depths. 6. Chennai Timpishka Boiling River, Peru. Deep within the Peruvian Amazon rainforest, where the mist tangles among the trees and the air vibrates with the song of insects, flows a river that seems like a myth told by the fire. The Chennai Timpishka, known as the Boiling River. Its name in the Quechua language means heated by the sun, though its heat doesn't come from the sky, but from the fiery depths of the earth. Its waters can reach temperatures exceeding 90 degrees Celsius, 194 degrees Fahrenheit, high enough to cook an animal that falls into them. Steam rises like a white veil over the surface, and fallen logs seem to slowly melt, as if the river were digesting them. Despite being hundreds of kilometers from any active volcano, the Chennai Timpishka receives its heat from geothermal cracks that channel steam from the planet's interior, creating a natural phenomenon unique in the world. For centuries, Amazonian communities considered it a sacred place, inhabited by powerful spirits. Today, scientists study it with astonishment, as a river this hot shouldn't exist so far from a volcanic source. It is, in a way, a geological enigma that defies the logic of the map. Walking beside it is a hypnotic and dangerous experience. The air is saturated with steam, the ground is slippery, and in some sections, the water bubbles like a living broth. A single false step is enough to suffer fatal burns. However, its beauty is impossible to deny. The river snakes through the jungle like a luminous artery, reminding us that the Amazon not only holds life, but also fire. 7. Rio Tinto, Spain. In southwestern Spain, among the mountains of Huelva, flows a river that looks dyed with blood. It is the Rio Tinto, a landscape so unreal it could be mistaken for the setting of another planet. Its red and orange waters owe their color not to fantasy, but to science. They contain high concentrations of iron, copper, and other heavy metals, dissolved by an extreme acidity that can reach a pH close to 2. In other words, the Rio Tinto is almost as corrosive as the strongest vinegar, a liquid course where life has had to reinvent itself to survive. For centuries, this region was exploited by civilizations seeking its mineral wealth. Phoenicians, Romans, and British extracted tons of metals from its depths, altering the water's balance. The result was a natural laboratory in which extremophile bacteria, microorganisms that feed on toxic minerals, became the true queens of the ecosystem. Their metabolism transforms the metals into acids, maintaining the river's unmistakable reddish tone, even in areas where mining has ceased. NASA scientists have studied the Rio Tinto as a terrestrial analog for Mars because its chemical conditions and appearance resemble ancient Martian riverbeds. In its hostile waters, life demonstrates that it can persist even in environments that would seem impossible. It's a reminder that adaptation knows no limits, and that the Earth still holds secrets about the very origins of life. Despite its toxic appearance, the Rio Tinto remains a jewel of science and history, a brilliant wound crossing the Andalusian landscape. From its banks, one doesn't know whether one is observing the remote past of our planet or a preview of other worlds yet to be discovered. And as the river continues to flow, it reminds us that beauty, sometimes, is born of poison. 8. Lake Karachay, Russia. In the southern Urals, hidden among silent hills and cold forests, is one of the most toxic places ever created by humans, Lake Karachay in Russia. Its appearance is deceptively ordinary, a small body of water, still without spectacular waves or reflections. But beneath that apparent calm hides an invisible enemy, radiation. Not the natural kind emanating from the rocks, but a lethal concentration born from the darkest history of nuclear energy. For decades, the lake was used as a dump for radioactive waste from the Mayak nuclear complex, a secret facility dedicated to plutonium production during the Cold War. With no control or environmental conscience, thousands of tons of waste were dumped directly into its waters. The result was a silent bomb. By the late 20th century, just a few minutes by its shore were enough to receive a radiation dose capable of causing death. In 1968, a drought exposed part of the lake bed, stirring up contaminated dust that the wind dispersed for kilometers, affecting thousands of people. It was one of the world's worst nuclear disasters, although almost no one outside the region knew for years as the information was classified. Today, the lake has been filled with concrete and earth to prevent the dispersion of radioactivity, but its legacy persists beneath the surface, sealed like a warning capsule for the future. Lake Karachay is not a natural phenomenon, but a scar created by human arrogance. Proof that nuclear power, poorly managed, can turn water, the universal symbol of life, into pure death. There, nature doesn't shine or breathe. It simply remains silent, as if waiting for the day when man learns to fear what he himself has unleashed. 9. Horseshoe Lake, Mammoth Mountain, USA. On the slopes of the volcanic massif of Mammoth Mountain in California stretches a mountain lake that, at first glance, seems like a perfect refuge. Horseshoe Lake, a mirror of water surrounded by forests and alpine trails. However, those who approach too closely soon notice something unsettling. Around it, hundreds of trees are dead, their trunks gray and dry, as if an invisible plague had asphyxiated them. And, in fact, that is exactly what happened. Beneath the surface of this lake rests a constant flow of carbon dioxide, CO2, emanating from volcanic cracks in the ground. Although the volcano is not erupting, it is still breathing. The gas, heavier than air, accumulates in the low-lying areas, displacing oxygen and creating a silent trap. In the 90s, scientists discovered that the CO2 concentration in the soil was so high that it could kill an animal or person in minutes if they remained in the affected areas for too long. The phenomenon intensified after a series of small earthquakes in 1989, which opened new cracks through which the gas began to escape in large volumes. Since then, emission levels exceeding 100 tons per day have been recorded, a constant exhalation from the mountain that continues to transform the landscape. As a precaution, authorities warn visitors to avoid certain areas, especially on windless days, when the gas accumulates close to the ground. Despite the danger, Horseshoe Lake retains a serene and melancholic beauty. Its environment seems frozen in a strange balance between life and death. The water shines under the sun, but the forest is silent. There, the earth reminds us that even when it seems to sleep, it is still breathing, and sometimes its breath is deadly. 10. Lake Monoun, Cameroon. In the heart of Cameroon, hidden among hills and tropical plantations, lies a lake of tranquil appearance and an almost unknown name, Lake Monoun. But beneath that calm hides a story that seems to repeat itself like an echo of disaster. Because 2 years before the fateful event at Lake Nyos, Monoun had already given the first warning of what nature was capable of doing. On August 15, 1984, the residents of a nearby small village heard a muffled explosion, followed by a whitish cloud that silently slid down the valley. In a matter of minutes, the invisible gas, carbon dioxide, CO2, released from the lake's depths, displaced the oxygen in the air, asphyxiating 37 people without leaving signs of violence. Many died where they were, in their cars, on the roads, or simply asleep. No one understood what had happened. For weeks, theories abounded. Chemical attack, curse, divine punishment. Only years later did scientists confirm that the culprit had been a limnic eruption, the same phenomenon that would later devastate Nyos. The gas accumulated at the bottom of the lake under pressure had suddenly escaped, releasing a lethal cloud that moved like a silent wave. Today, Monoun remains a natural laboratory, carefully monitored. As with Nyos, degassing tubes were installed to slowly release the trapped carbon dioxide and prevent a new tragedy. Even so, the lake retains a mysterious air, as if it holds the memory of that night. Its serene surface reflects the clouds, but beneath it, the Earth continues to prepare its own chemical experiments. Manaus is, in a way, the warning no one heard in time. A lesson on how even a peaceful pond can become a death trap when the planet decides to exhale. 11. Congo River, Central Africa. In the heart of Africa, where the jungle is so dense it seems endless, flows an indomitable giant, the Congo River, one of the planet's most powerful and mysterious arteries. Its immense volume cuts the continent like a living scar, advancing with such colossal force that in some sections, the water seems to defy the laws of physics. But what truly distinguishes the Congo is not just its size, but its hidden danger beneath the surface. Unlike most large rivers, the Congo has abyssal currents, water flows that move in the opposite direction to the main channel, as if a second, invisible, and lethal river existed within it. In certain areas, it reaches depths exceeding 220 meters, 720 feet, making it the deepest river in the world. It's a liquid abyss where pressure, darkness, and turbulence create an environment so extreme that even aquatic life has evolved there in unique ways, with fish species adapted to the complete absence of light. However, its most feared stretch is in the Inga Rapids, where the Congo descends violently through a labyrinth of rocks and whirlpools capable of destroying any vessel. There, the water's energy reaches nearly unimaginable levels. The flow passing through Inga could power the electricity consumption of an entire country several times over. It's no coincidence that it's considered one of the largest hydroelectric energy reserves on the planet. But beyond its potential, the Congo remains a wild territory, a river that won't be tamed. A darkness that seems to breathe reigns in its depths, and every whirlpool tells the story of an ancient, primitive power that neither science nor engineering has managed to completely dominate. The Congo doesn't just transport water, it carries the living memory of a continent that still pulses with the force of the earth itself. 12. Zambezi River, Africa. In southern Africa, winding among savannas, forests, and flooded plains, flows a legendary river, the Zambezi. It is the backbone of an entire region, and one of the most impressive rivers on the planet, not only for its beauty, but also for its danger. Because the Zambezi doesn't forgive imprudence. Beneath its turquoise surface pulse treacherous currents, sudden whirlpools, and a fauna so formidable that it turns every crossing into a test of respect for nature. Some of the world's most dangerous animals live here. Hippos, which look calm from afar, are responsible for more fatal attacks in Africa than any other large mammal. They defend their territories furiously, charging with a force capable of overturning entire boats. And silently lurking beneath the water are Nile crocodiles, patient and perfect hunters, waiting for their prey on the riverbanks. In the Zambezi, every moving shadow can be a live trap. But amidst so much risk, the river also offers one of the most awe-inspiring natural spectacles on Earth. Victoria Falls, called by local peoples Mosi Oatunya, the smoke that thunders. There, the Zambezi plunges over 100 meters, 330 feet, in a curtain of water so vast that its roar can be heard kilometers away. The mist rising from the abyss forms permanent rainbows, as if the river, despite its ferocity, offers an instant of pure beauty. 13. Citarum River, Indonesia. On the island of Java, Indonesia, flows a river that was once a symbol of fertility and prosperity. Today, however, its name evokes an open wound on the body of the planet. It is the Citarum River, and its waters, which once irrigated rice fields and sustained entire villages, have become one of the most polluted streams in the world. At first glance, the water is barely visible. It is covered by a thick layer of chemical foam, plastics, metals, and household waste. For decades, uncontrolled industrial growth and a lack of sanitation transformed it into a liquid dump site. More than 1,000 factories dumped their waste directly into the river. Mercury, lead, arsenic, and textile dyes that color the waters in impossible hues, as if it were a poisoned canvas. The local population, without alternatives, continues to depend on the Citarum for bathing, washing, and even farming, trapped in a cycle of contaminated survival. However, the most shocking thing is not just the water's toxicity, but its symbolic magnitude. This river is a mirror of our modern civilization. a vital flow turned into a sewer by carelessness and excess. On its banks, mountains of garbage float among dry branches, and the fish have almost completely disappeared. In some stretches, the air is so dense with decomposition gases that breathing is a challenge. In recent years, Indonesia has initiated ambitious projects to restore life to the Citarum. Thousands of volunteers, scientists, and communities are working to clean it up, trying to turn disaster into hope. But the river still flows slow, heavy, carrying the toxic memory of an entire century. 14. Yellowstone Thermal Area, USA. In the vast Yellowstone National Park in the United States, the Earth displays its most visible breathing. Among mountains, forests, and meadows extends a landscape that seems alive. Steaming rivers, boiling pools, and geysers that spit water into the sky with a primitive force. Beneath that colorful surface hides one of the planet's most powerful volcanic systems, a gigantic dormant cauldron. The thermal waters and channels in the area are as beautiful as they are deadly. In them, the temperature can exceed 90 degrees Celsius, 194 degrees Fahrenheit, and their composition is highly acidic and loaded with dissolved minerals, capable of corroding skin and bone in a matter of seconds. Even so, thousands of tourists approach every year, fascinated by the impossible colors that dye the geothermal pools: blue, green, orange, and red. These tones, so hypnotic, come from extremophile microorganisms, tiny beings that have learned to survive in conditions that would kill almost every other form of life. The contrast is astonishing. Where the water bubbles and the air burns with the smell of sulfur, a microscopic biodiversity flourishes that recalls the very origins of life on Earth. However, a single step off the marked paths can be fatal. More than one person has fallen into these boiling rivers, dissolving in minutes. Yellowstone does not forgive curiosity without respect. 15. Taal Lake, Philippines. In the heart of Luzon Island, in the Philippines, rests a lake that holds a secret within another. It is Taal Lake, a blue jewel surrounded by mountains and mist, but at its center rises an island. And on that island, an active volcano. It is, literally, a volcano within a lake within a volcano, one of the planet's most extraordinary and dangerous formations. At first glance, Taal looks like a tropical paradise. Its calm waters reflect the sky and clouds like a mirror, and the surrounding towns live off tourism and fishing. However, beneath its surface sleeps an unpredictable volcanic system, connected to magma chambers that breathe with fury. Its eruptions don't always announce their arrival. They can begin suddenly, expelling ash, toxic gases, and columns of steam that rise kilometers above the crater. The most recent major eruption, in 2020, covered the Batangas region with ash and forced the evacuation of tens of thousands of people. The most unsettling aspect was its speed. In a matter of hours, the lake churned, animals fled, and the air became unbreathable. That is Taal's real threat. Its beauty hides an explosive temperament, as changeable as the weather that surrounds it. The lake water, slightly acidic and charged with sulfur, bubbles in some areas, a testament to constant volcanic activity. Scientists monitor its temperature and the water's pH, because at Taal, any change can be a prelude to an awakening. Thus, Lake Taal is a living paradox, a landscape of suspended peace over a heart of fire. While the waves caress its shores and fishermen cast their nets, beneath them, the earth murmurs, reminding us that even the most serene paradises can explode without warning.